We'll call this meeting of the Friendship Heights Village Council to order. Before we move to resident comments, the mayor has a statement to read.
In light of a recent incident involving a village official and a village resident, the council reaffirms its view that as we engage in political discourse, gratuitous references to anyone's race, religion, age, sexual preference, gender identity, or country of origin are always inappropriate and unacceptable, no matter the exact wording of what was said or the circumstances that might have provoked it.
Thank you, Melody. Any comments, Al?
Madam Mayor and Mr. Chairman, I deeply regret and apologize for losing my temper last week during a public confrontation which was initiated by a resident who had been harassing me for weeks. Despite the provocations, I was wrong to respond the way I did, and I apologize. It will not happen again. And as you know, I recuse myself from participating in the draft of your opening statement, but I fully support the sentiments. If I criticize someone, it is because I disagree with their individual personal actions or their individual personal opinions, not their gender or sexual orientation, and certainly not with the religious, ethnic, or racial group to which they belong.
Thank you, Al. Okay, let's move on. We must have nothing very controversial today because we have only a select group of residents here. Maybe we should think of something really controversial to do, but the floor is open for resident comments. Please go ahead. Yes, please. And we'll keep people to 3 minutes as we usually try.
I tried and I practiced it. So I'm Julie Potter, and I live at 4701 Willard. And I know that, the council's position on the dog park, but I had some additional ideas I wanted to offer tonight. So before we moved here, we lived for 42 years in Friendship Heights in DC. And in all that time, I never experienced any dog incidents, 0. But in the 6 years that we lived here, I've experienced 4. And I'll just briefly elaborate. I won't elaborate, but I'll just tell you them. Then I'm going to give this to you so you can read them later at your leisure. So one was an uncomfortable encounter with a large German Shepherd in an apartment building, a puppy fight, a near-fight experience where a large dog snapped at me, and I witnessed a dog being abused. Those 4 incidents, one owner lived on my floor and moved a year later. The other 3 owners and their dog, I never saw them again. I have reason to believe that I am not alone in these experiences. All of these dogs were on leashes. None of these dogs would be appropriate for a dog park, especially a small one. I do not believe that a dog park is a fix for a burgeoning population of dogs, and that there are more important ways to help dogs, their owners, and one another. An article in the New York Times acknowledges that dog parks are popular, but not necessarily good for dogs. And I'm going to give that article to you too. I feel we should all read it. What the council can do is study this issue carefully and learn more about our community and our relationships with one another and with pets in general. For example, an Ask the Vet forum on dog and human behaviors, articles on dogs and other animals, how to help pet owners in trouble, a vet and a social worker as advisors to the council, free dog clinics for shots, training, and neutering. These would be real ways to help our community rather than a controversial dog park. The dog population is growing, and we can unite our community more by helping one another and understanding one another, rather than dividing ourselves over this issue. Chevy Chase Village is one such instance where there needs to be healing of neighbor relations. their dog park was closed due to complaints about noise. So we may think that this controversy would end with a new dog park, but this may be wishful thinking. So I think I just want to comment about the noise issue. That, people on the council know that we tolerate other noises: fire engines, leaf blowers, truck horns, children playing, and kids shooting basketball. And those are noises that we do tolerate because they are for the common good. But a dog and anything is a luxury. So people don't necessarily tolerate those noises from our pets. Montgomery County noise limit is between 55 and 65 decibels, and a dog parking is between 80 and 100. That's my remarks. I'm going to leave them with you. And but in closing, I wanted to say I was at the last Zoom meeting, last month, and I was on Zoom, and a lot of people were not recognized on Zoom, and so many people left kind of frustrated. So I would suggest that you take one comment from here and then one comment from Zoom, kind of go back and forth, and then that would help people feel validated. And with that said, I received an email from Bobby Petstrong with his comments, and he's there, I see him. So if he could give his comments next, I will then hand them to you, and I'll be done. It's near time to my comments and Bobby's. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Potter. At our last meeting, we were having some technical problems, and that was why it seemed difficult to get Zoom people. But we hope we've solved those problems this time.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, let us deal with this, and I'll go back to Bobby afterwards. Go ahead.
Oh.
Thank you.
Lynn Connor from 4620, and I would like to thank the mayor for her statement. Greatly appreciated, and I would hope you would find a way to distribute it to the community as a reminder of who we are supposed to be. Thank you.
The statement will be in our minutes. It will be on the website. Yeah, is somebody on the, yes, yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me there?
Loud and clear.
Good. Okay. Thank you for having the Zoom operational this month. Makes a big difference, and I can see more of the meeting than I think people could see last week as well. As Julie mentioned, she has a memo from us to the council, which summarizes our thoughts, and we think the thoughts of many to date. And it also makes two requests. And in giving it to you, we would request that you print this letter in the newsletter in November, so that the ideas that we have and the perspectives that we have aren't filtered through another lens. They present, I think, our ideas regarding the property on Willard Avenue in a moderated and even way, and present them fairly from our perspective as well. I think also, and the letter memo reflects this, that the issue about how that property can be used or should be used isn't yet out of the council's hands. And we know that recently another organization that had provided a letter of support to the county parks has in fact taken a different position and expressed that position to parks. And so secondly, we're requesting in the memo that the council, the Friendship Heights Village Council, also send a revised letter to parks, which reflects an understanding that there are alternative uses for that property, and that the funding, which has been presented as solely available for a dog park, is also available for the other purposes that we propose there. So there's a letter. It presents, we think, our point of view about the use of that property from our perspective. We're requesting that it be printed in the November newsletter. We're requesting that a revised letter from the council to county parks be sent on behalf of the county council, given our understanding based upon the research that we have done about the ways in which that property can be used and the funding that is available, and that's different, having attended council meetings since March, from what's been presented to you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you on Zoom.
Thank you, Bobby. I just a few points and then move on. First, as you know, the council has now voted twice unanimously to support the idea of the dog park. I understand that you and I have corresponded about the various options, so I don't even think there's a parliamentary process by which we can take this up again. It's not on our agenda. The second thing is I talked with my colleagues about this, but printing citizen petitions or ideas or whatever in the newsletter is probably is going to be problematic. We would have to make decisions about what to print and what not to print. And I think we'd wind up in a whole world of trouble if we ended up doing that. But I will let the communications committee consider that proposal. Thank you for your comments. Are there other comments, Dan?
Changing the subject from dog parks to communications, I first would like to thank the city manager, Jillian, for beginning to set out a way of communicating from the village to residents electronically. It's well overdue, and I salute you. Thank you very much for beginning that. I hope that becomes an effective way for citizens in the village to hear about what's going on in the government, in addition to the village newsletter. It's certainly possible for the village to communicate. I'm not talking about a listserv so much as I am the village is using a microphone. Second thing, I'd also like to thank the city manager for putting Wi-Fi and making Wi-Fi available out in the park. I walk through pretty much every day and see people out there sitting using their computers in the park, and it makes me feel good. It helps. And third thing, I want to thank Councilmember Mueller for speaking and accepting responsibility for inappropriate comments that he made, and thank you, Al.
Additional comments? Anybody on Zoom, Jason? Okay. Any comments from the council? Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman, yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. In regards to the dog park, after last month's meeting, I did a walk around the community and just to see what buildings were doing. And what I found was that at 4701, and I took pictures of them, there's no less than 8 signs telling their residents not to allow their dogs to use their property. The Elizabeth has about 3, and the Carlton has about 4. I think from my standpoint, I would appreciate it if the residents, particularly of 4701, would focus on keeping their dogs off of the 4620 property on Willard Avenue. The biggest offenders of having their dogs relieve themselves come from 4701. So if those people that are opposed to the dog park could focus on treating the other residents' property with respect, I think that would go a long way. So in addition, for the residents in 4701, I've said this before and I would say it again as I walk around the neighborhood, the North Park side of their building is a mess. it's a muddy mess. When it rains, the mud runs onto the sidewalk of North Park. I've raised this issue before. The residents of 4701 don't seem to be able to do anything about that issue. But I'm asking, in addition to that, the trash receptacles that 4701 is leaving on Willard Avenue for 10, 20 hours a day. Trash blowing out on the street, making it difficult for traffic to get by. And in addition to that, the honking, they apparently, well, Julian stepped in and reached out to them once again. It's like they just don't listen. 7:30 in the morning, they have this backup emergency beeper going off for at least a half hour. I just don't understand how the people in 4701 can sit in that building and listen to that for that long a period of time before the manager or someone else doesn't walk outside and tell them to stop. So I'm requesting that those folks in 4701 in particular, if you focus on some of that, it would be good for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Hold it. Who's this?
this is Bobby, if I may. I'm a resident at 4701. I just wanted to let Mr. Dorsey, this is a rental bill. And if there are issues with that property, it needs to be taken up with the owners of the building. It's not a condominium. We are renters.
Yeah.
And it's the owner who have the responsibility, and I suggest that they be talked to.
All right, Bobby, thank you. Are there other comments from members of the council? Mayor's announcements, Melanie?
Please join us for our annual Fall Festival celebration on Saturday, October 15, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. in Humphrey Park outside the Village Center. Check the October newsletter for more details. The Village Shredding Service will be back on Saturday, October 22, from 10 a.m. to noon. A shredding truck will park on Friendship Boulevard outside the Village Center main entrance. National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day is Saturday, October 29, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. A Montgomery County police officer will be at the Village Center lobby to collect and safely dispose of your unwanted or unused prescription drugs. As noted in this month's newsletter, we have a new free service for village residents to sign up to receive text or email updates regarding Village Center activities, council meetings, development and construction updates, emergency info, and more. Click on the blue sign up button at the top of every page on our website.
Thank you, Molly. Any questions to the mayor? Secretary's report, Al?
The public session minutes of September 12 were distributed. There were no corrections that I received. Both the village manager and I reviewed them. And I move that the public meeting minutes of September 12, 2022 be accepted as distributed.
There's second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead, Al.
The executive session minutes of September 12, 2022 were distributed. There were no corrections. The confidential matter discussed was reviewing the 6-month probationary period for the new front desk supervisor, Brian Lucina, and it was recommended that the council approve regular employment status for the employee. That was approved unanimously. I ask that the minutes be accepted as distributed.
There's second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Treasurer's report.
I'm sorry, this is the minute taker.
Yeah.
I did not see who seconded. It didn't show on the screen.
Councilwoman Samara Jones,
Thank
second.
you. Thank you.
As of September 30th, 2022, in the general fund, the total cash on hand was $3,017,124.06. This figure represents the
Can you use the microphone?
oh, I'm sorry. Would you like me to read that again?
Yes.
Okay, on September 30th, the total cash on hand in the general fund was $3,017,124.06, which reflects expenditure on the Red House. In the capital improvements fund, total cash on hand was $11,355.35. In the OPEB trust fund reserve, total cash on hand was $1,341.71.
Any questions?
Chairman.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. 22 months ago, about 670 days, I inquired about the precipitous drop in our investment returns. The only answer that I ever received was from our finance director, who said, "It is what it is." I believe that was an arrogant and unacceptable answer from a man who was being paid with tax dollars. A couple months after that, I provided an opportunity to have a nationally respected company who offered to do a review of our financial history at no cost to the village council. That issue was supported by Councilmember Kearney, Councilmember Muller, and myself. The other 4 council members did not support that initiative. During the last 22 months, we pursued excuse after excuse of why we don't press to learn the cause of this precipitous drop. We were told to wait because the treasurer was ill. Then we were told to wait because the finance director was ill. Then we were told to wait for the election to get a new treasurer. Then we were told to wait until a new assistant was hired. Roadblock after roadblock. So I have some questions for the treasurer about that. Do you have any just for the treasurer, do you have any expertise in financial investments?
Well, I think I do. I do my own investments. Are you saying for a group?
I'm talking
Or
about,
myself?
yes, a group of 4,500 residents.
Oh, I guess I don't. Does
Yes,
anyone here?
Because,
Does
be
anyone
legal-
here have that experience?
correct,
Correct.
you don't have the experience.
Mr. Chair, I think.
Did
that-
anyone
I
on the
think that-
did anyone on the council?
I'm going to ask that when you have these questions, you submit them ahead of time, please.
22 months, Madam Treasurer,
Well, you didn't
22
submit
months.
them. Well,
I'm going to
sorry.
ask my questions.
Submit them to me in writing ahead of time, please.
Did anyone formerly on staff have any financial investment expertise, such as having passed any of the series tests to legally advise people on investment strategy?
Give me your questions and I will research them.
Mike, I think,
Number 3,
Mike,
does anyone currently on staff have financial investment expertise?
I'm sure.
Give me your questions.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
I will
Chairman.
do the research.
She doesn't know. Is there anyone on the council that has financial investment expertise?
Well, you
I
sound
don't.
you do.
I know that I don't. I'll admit that.
Mike, I think Julian has some.
No, well, anyone can ask Julian whatever you want to ask him. I'm asking these questions, so. the
Wait a
treasurer.
minute, what was?
I want the
what- I
name
wanna
or
know what
names
you
of who
said.
is making current decisions on where the taxpayers' money is being invested currently.
Let's go back to your previous question. You said, does anyone have any experience in investing? Is that what you said?
Investment expertise, such as passing the series test that makes you legally able to give financial advice. Do you?
No, but I don't give financial advice.
Okay. Is there anyone on the council that has financial investment expertise? Hearing none, I'll move on. I'd like to have the name or names of who is making the current decisions on where the taxpayers' money is being invested now. Do you have an answer for that?
I believe that we are still following the investments or still maintaining the investments made by our previous assistant manager.
Who made the last investment decision
I believe.
and when?
Are you talking?
I'm talking about the last investment decision.
You're talking about
Stop.
where,
No, this is too important, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask these questions.
I understand, but Mike, you're ambushing.
I'm not ambushing. You've had 22 months, Mr. Chairman, 670 days. I've been given roadblock after roadblock, and the residents, the taxpayers deserve more.
Yeah, but
We know that no one in this room has a financial background to make investments and do and plan for them.
You made that point, Mike, but you're.
For 22 months, I've been making that point, Mr. Chairman. For 22 months, I've been making that.
We understand that you've not been able to convince the majority of the council to move forward on what your plan is.
Well, I'm not here to convince the council. I'm here to let the residents that are on this Zoom and that are in this room know that for 22 months, there hasn't been enough interest by this council to get someone to take a look at our finances that has financial expertise. That's what I'm doing.
You've made the point. Then everybody on Zoom is heard, everybody here is heard.
So what you're telling me is we have a treasurer that can't answer one question about our investments. Nor could the previous financial director, whom we were paying $190,000 in wages and fringes to. And will tell you that it is what it is. No, I can't accept that. 22 months. So next month, you'll be hearing the same thing.
Julie,
well, let me.
As long as we have a treasurer that is not competent to answer the questions or get the expertise in here. When we have an issue about land, or if we have an issue about how we deal with employees, we get legal advice. We don't depend on a bunch of novices like us sitting up here. We shouldn't do it for finances.
Julia, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna report this.
An ambush, look, before you get started, you want to start name calling about ambushing and so forth. I'll tell you what, I'll sling some words out here if you want. If you want to talk about ambushing, and if you think Dr. Mueller was strong in his words, wait till you hear mine. So I don't want to hear any more about ambushing. If you're not competent, then don't hold the job.
You made the point.
Right ahead.
Julie, go
Sorry.
ahead, please.
We have just been referred to an advisor at the Elizabeth, who actually advises the Elizabeth Condominium Board from Morgan Stanley. We have not met with this individual. Jason and I are going to set up a preliminary meeting to find out how he operates. I'm told that there are no fees directly charged to the Elizabeth by this person. So we're going to pursue that and report back to the council as soon as we have an initial meeting with this individual and see where we want to proceed. But this does come from a referral from the manager of the Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Carolyn?
Yeah, I have a question. As you all know, we purchased the 4608 Red House, the Estrada House. And I gather that Donahue paid us $1 million, and that's in an escrow fund?
That's an escrow fund.
Correct.
And-
Would that appear?
No, it doesn't appear there. That money doesn't come to us until a certain set of conditions are met in terms of when they start the construction.
Okay, so that's the reason why it would not appear
Exactly.
here and it would not be reflected in our finance.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilwoman, it doesn't appear right now, but when we receive it, it will.
Of course.
Right.
Right now, it's up there.
Got it.
I'm sorry I didn't bring the law with me, but the law, it restricts where we can put our money.
All right.
Mr.
I'll
Chairman,
bring it next
let's,
time and I'll read it.
Mr. Chairman, there's a list of 11 things for the residents out there that don't know it. There are 11 different financial vehicles that this council and government or entities can invest in. So that's nothing new. What's new is we don't have any type of financial plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'm hopeful that Julie will get some useful information because the condominiums are under the same restrictions. So we may get some information which Julie will share and the council will decide. And could be helpful.
Are there any committee reports? See none on the agenda. I don't see any old business. New business, discussion of a proposal for adding express shuttle bus service from 6:40 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Who's going to talk, Julian?
Yes, we received some requests to basically expand the service on Wednesdays to incorporate what is currently being provided on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. For a while now, Wednesdays, the bus has been going to West Bar, starting at 8 in the morning. And on the other 4 days of the week, it has this express service from 6:40 to 9 o'clock, where it just goes from the buildings to the metro for the folks who work. And it's been basically a balance. Now we're hearing from some folks who would like to have the Wednesday morning, basically the equivalent of the other mornings. But we will not change the Westport schedule beginning at 8. So the proposal is to add an hour and 20 minutes from 6:40 to 8 a.m. on Wednesdays, with the express service going to the metro and just the buildings. We contacted RMA and got a quote from them on what that would cost as an add-on to the current contract. And the quote we have is $642 per month to add to the contract to provide the service, but they are prepared to provide it and extend the driver's hours to cover that extra hour and 20 minutes as the council approves.
Comments?
I move to accept the manager's proposal.
There's a second.
Second.
So Melanie seconded. First one I saw. Further discussion? All those, go
I'm
ahead.
curious as to why it's the way it is. Just curious.
Why the current schedule is the way it is?
Yeah.
Previously we had the express service all 5 days, and then there was the desire to add a weekday trip to West Bar. Before a while ago, we had only weekend trips to West Bar. Then some residents started complaining that they couldn't get to the West Bar. They needed a weekday. They didn't just want to rely on the weekends. So we carved out Wednesday and made it the West Bar schedule. But in doing that, we eliminated that early morning express, and we're just getting requests to put it back.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Discussion vote on proposals for a snow removal contract. Julian?
Yes, we have proposals for a 3-year snow removal contract. And we did advertise for this and received 7 different proposals, which we've been very pleased with the current contractor for many years. They haven't raised their price at all. So actually it will be 6 years since they've raised their prices. So we recommend continuing with the plumber and to do snow removal. And just a reminder, this is for the streets and the sidewalks that are controlled by the village. The buildings take care of the sidewalks in front of the buildings and always do a very good job. And that's actually most of the sidewalks in the village are taken care of by the adjacent buildings and property owners. So for our contract, it's all of the streets and the sidewalks in the parks and the walkways through the parks predominantly.
Julian, one of the concerns that's always comes up is the sidewalk in front of the Pink House on Willard, which nobody seems to take any responsibility for. Of course, that's a fairly well-traveled area from for our residents. Is there can we once again remind Chevy Chase Land, or whoever owns that thing now, to take care of that? Or would it just be worth it to ask our contractor to do something on that sidewalk as well?
Yeah, that's definitely not ours to take care of. That's the, as you mentioned, the owner of the big house. It's their responsibility, just as the landscaping, which they also are not very good at doing. So we do have to remind them frequently. But yeah, that house is owned by 17. With the transaction.
I mean, I guess
We can still remind them, but
yeah, I understand it's their responsibility. I'm just trying to, while we're arguing about with them to take up their responsibility, I don't want one of our residents slipping and falling on that. That's stupid. Okay. Go ahead, Alan. I'm sorry, Carolina.
Another thing too is we might recommend the same snow removal to the folks on 5500 Friendship Boulevard. They're great neighbors, but when winter comes, they're not very diligent in picking up snow. And that's usually a problem for us, the Elizabeth in particular.
I've had to remind them too. They have a on-site, off-site property.
Yeah.
They're usually responsive once we say something, but they're not always for them.
Yeah, they're not proactive. Right, thank you.
Al, go ahead.
Yeah, Julian, please remember the new contract also will have to include not only our 4602 North Park Avenue, but now our 4608 North Park Avenue.
That's a good one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know, I expect maybe this is new business or partially new or old. Given that you're talking about Chevy Chase Land, I think it would be good to reach out to Chevy Chase Land and let them know that there's a large limb on their tree that's hanging dangerously. It's broken and hanging dangerously over the sidewalk on Willard Avenue.
By the pink house.
In front of the pig, yes, it's the tree to the
I
right.
mentioned that to them, and they still haven't taken it down.
Well, I mean, there's been a big limb that's snapped and it's hanging there now, part of it, not the whole thing. And the other thing under new business maybe is, it was good to see that, I expect Julian, reached out to Washington Gas or whomever and had that, sinkhole repaired. I was just wondering, is there an update or a timeline for the concrete to be repaired? It looks like a temporary patch. That's what it is.
It is indeed a temporary
Yeah.
patch. WSSC, there, I don't know the timeline, but we'll follow.
Thank you.
They have a separate crew that does the
Yeah.
permanent restoration.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
This is
Excuse me,
nothing.
I don't think we had a vote on the snow contract.
No, we haven't gotten there.
We're still
Oh,
discussing.
sorry, then let's vote on the snow contract.
Well,
Then I have a question for Julian.
We're not on this, not having to do with the snow contract. Okay, Julian, for the purpose of the minutes, could you just indicate the contract cost for the snow?
Unfortunately, it's pretty much impossible to indicate the cost until we know how much snow it is. There's just a lot of hourly costs that you see in the proposal based on what type of equipment they use. So
Okay.
we're proving their hourly costs, and then however much it snows, however much we get charged.
See, I have so much faith in you that I assume you knew how much snow we're gonna get over the next couple of months.
That's a question.
But I assume that's a snow job. Anyway, is there a motion to approve the contract as recommended by the village manager? Paul moved, Carolina seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Is there any other new business before the council? Carolina, you had something to point.
Yeah, this just Willard Avenue just brought something that has to do with Montgomery County. Julian, early on, I guess it was early on this year, Montgomery County had to do something on the corner of Willard Avenue and Wisconsin Avenue. They had those holes with pots, with trees, and they said they would come back in the spring. and they would be replaced and yada, 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 yada. And I've been by there and I think Moco has been busy, otherwise busy, so they haven't done anything.
Okay, I'll remind you,
just
because I
give
believe they mentioned they would be planting
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's a couple of tree beds
yeah, they're big.
by the bank.
Blocks of holes, yeah, thank you. And one question about the contract with the snow removal. They have not increased the amount, or the hourly rate or anything?
Yeah, the hourly rates are the same, so
Oh, wow.
it will have been 6 years. Now that we've approved this, that we'll put the same rates.
Wow, thank you.
Anything further? I have a motion to adjourn and to move into closed session. A motion to enter closed session pursuant to Maryland Code General Provision Article Section 3305B1 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of an appointee, employees, or official over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. Is there a motion to that effect? Paul is moved. Is there a second? Al second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.